Vanderbilt plucks a dynamic, speedy receiver from Chattanooga. Here we go. It's picking up.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's going on? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy part of your day, and shout out to the everydayers. Today we're going to discuss, we got a lot to discuss here, and lost in all the Diego Pavia reactions from his appearance on Bussin' with the Boys. Keeyshawn Tabuteau announced his commitment to Vanderbilt. He's a 3-star wide receiver from McCallie, which is based in Chattanooga. He has dynamic speed and a deep threat potential. And of course, I love this pipeline that Clark Lee and Vanderbilt have and is building to McCallie. So we'll talk about him here in just a second. Also, Diego Pavia mentioned something that was interesting in the interview, the fact that Deion Sanders did try to recruit him as a backup to Shedeur. I can't imagine him being a backup, but he was also very complimentary to Coach Prime too. So I don't want that fact to get lost in the shuffle as well. But I thought that was an interesting comment. And PFF has awarded Bryce Henderson as the highest graded returning tackle, whatever that means. It just means that he's on a list of some really, really talented offensive tackles, and he's coming back and he's playing for Vanderbilt. And so that's exciting as well. And then Coach Byington and crew got their SEC schedule, no dates, just home and away opponents and home and road only games as well. So we'll break that down. And Coach Byington is absolutely killing it, by the way. But anyway, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And I bet you could get a live bet here on this Pacers game and get your $200 in bonus bets. That would be outstanding. So anyway, the Diego Pavia stuff happened. He said a lot. He ignited some fires. He's got some bravado and some confidence that is uncharted, and it's going to be good for team culture. But what got lost in all of that shuffle is a very super talented wide receiver, Keeyshawn Tabuteau, committed on Tuesday from McCallie. And it's been quite the pipeline. You get Carson Lawrence in last year's class coming in. He's an early enrollee from McCallie. And now you're getting Tabuteau. If it's a long way till December, but if you can keep him in the fold, I think you're going to have a really, really talented wide receiver in a group that's starving. And I think he sees opportunity here, and I think that's why he chose it. He has a great relationship with Coach Bailey, Coach Kill, Coach Beck, and even Coach Lee. He sees the potential in this offense, and he sees his possibilities. He sees all of the opportunities he's going to get from this offense. So here's the scouting report on him. I've done it for the last 5 commits. Here's the scouting report for him. Tabuteau has great burst off the line of scrimmage and speed to burn once he gets off. He ran a sub 11 in the 100-meter dash, so he's got speed for days. He's kind of that living meme of Top Gun where they say, I got the need for speed, right? So he has a ton of speed he can burn. He uses that ability to run past defenders, and honestly, when you watch his highlight film, and it's a treat. But he had a heavy dose of fades, seams, and posts. He's also dangerous in the return game as well. That's what he's. I would like to see him kind of like what I was talking about with Jason McCollum. I want to see Jason McCollum against the run more in his highlight reels in this senior season. I want to see Keeyshawn Tabuteau run some short routes and house him. I think the basis of this offense is, when he gets to Vanderbilt, is going to be those deep shots. And he does show that ability a lot in his highlight reel, where he can run the seam, he can run the seam post, he can run the post from the outside, he can run a wheel fade from the inside, from the slot, he can run the fade from the outside position. He will go up and make a contested catch. He does a lot of great things at the point of attack. But what I want to see from Keeyshawn is I want to see his ability to run a slant with a defender draped on his back. I want to see how he catches in that. I want to see him block on the perimeter more. I want to see him run a hitch route. I want to see him run from the slot. I want to see him run a crossing route or go in motion and run a jet sweep, or go in motion and run a orbit swing route as part of a concept or as part of a screen. Like, I want to see him do dynamic things that slot receivers do. He has that kind of dynamic athletic ability. I want to see if it's more than just straight line speed. I want to see shiftiness. I want to see quickness. I want to see burst and change of direction. Like, I want to see some more of that in his highlight reel. Now, I haven't watched a ton of his games. He probably does show some of that, but I would like to see that featured in his highlight reel. Like, I think when he puts that out there, I think he needs to showcase his full ability. And, I'm excited about this kid. I mean, I'm excited that any of these I hope some of these receivers that are coming in, Caden Smith, now Keeyshawn Tabuteau, LeBron Hill that's coming in with this class, going to be a true freshman. Like, I want to see some of these guys pop, because I think Vanderbilt had such kind of a mediocre receiving core last year that they got from the portal, and some of the guys that they signed from high school, albeit super talented, just never really took that next step. They had flashes, but they never really took that next step. So, and I think the veteran guys were inconsistent. Like, I just think the receiving group was kind of a mess last year. It just seemed like that. They were inconsistent. They had some drops. They just couldn't create separation at times. I think they got kind of lost in the minutia of all the running. And I don't think they were used to that. The scheme change. There's a lot of factors, but I just think I want to see that one dominant guy. And I think if you can get a dominant guy or two to come in as a wide receiver, I think if someone emerges from this year's group, from this year's core on the team as that dominant guy, like, I think you'll start to see them utilize that more. Like, I don't think Tim Beck's and Jerry Kill, I don't think they are going to be extremely stubborn. I don't see that at all. Like, if they have a dynamic receiver, they're going to use him, right? They're not going to be stubborn and go, oh, we run the ball 80% of the time because that's what we do, right? They're going to stick to their identity, of course. But if they have a chance, like they showed it, like against Missouri, they go over the top with Joseph McVay. Against LSU, they go over the top. Again, I think with Junior Sherrill this time, 4th and 1 against Bama. And that might have been Diego Pavia calling his own play on that one, as he said as much in the interview. But it just, they're going to utilize that kind of stuff. And if there's weapons, they're going to use them because they have to. That's the only way they're going to win, is utilize all their weapons, create that true balance. So who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that guy of the future? Tabuteau, I think, has all the skill in the world to be that guy. He's fast. He can move. He can play the ball in the air. He can separate from DBs. But in the SEC, is he going to be able to do that on a consistent basis? Because the athletes are a lot better. Like, I think you're getting a good glimpse of him in the league that he plays in at McCallie, because that's a really, really good league as far as the state of Tennessee goes. So he's getting some great competition. So you're getting a good look on what he could potentially do at Vanderbilt. But I think as part of his development, and part of what would make me feel better about his role, is if I saw some of that shorter stuff that he could, just see if he can take an under route, for a big gain, or to see what his route running abilities like. How does he stack a defender? How does he create separation? When there's a potential all-pro first-round draft pick in your face guarding you at the line of scrimmage, how do you get off press, right? When the talent is equal or greater, how do you function with that? That's what I want to see. That's the kind of things that I want to know. And his highlight reel is impressive. Just search his name and Huddle in Google, and you'll see it. It's impressive. The routes he runs, the separation he gets just by running post seams and fades is impressive enough. And McCallie, kudos to them. They see an opportunity to say, hey, if this guy's running seams and posts and stuff by people, why do we need to throw slants to this guy? We're just gonna send him over the top, and we're just gonna lay it up to him. And you know what? Why not? Right? Like, why wouldn't you do that? You know, so it's just, and it's not a knock. It's not a knock that I want to see that kind of stuff. I'm just interested to see kind of what he has, if he's a total package or if he's a downfield vertical guy. Like I kind of want to see what he's made of, and I'm just very interested in that more so than anything. And like I said, it's definitely not a criticism because he is really good. He had some really good notable offers. I mean, look at it. You know, this is just the tip of the iceberg on the offers, but Arkansas, Auburn, Wisconsin, Colorado, Duke. Apparently Georgia was in the offer list. I know that's I don't want to put that out there in the universe, but he had some pretty impressive offers on that list, and I guess he saw opportunity at Vanderbilt. So very excited to have him though, nonetheless. Great to have this pipeline to Macaulay, because Macaulay they're pretty much state champions every year now at this point, and you're getting some really good talent coming through that school. And if that talent wants to funnel up to Nashville at Vanderbilt, I'm all for it. And so it's great if you can keep this commitment. But Diego Pavia, like I said, everything got lost in the shuffle with that interview. But Diego Pavia did say something interesting in that interview. I want to talk about it next, because just imagine life with him as a backup. That would be weird, wouldn't it? We're going to talk about that next. But first, we're going to talk about FanDuel. Yes, it is this NBA stuff, man. It is heating up, man. It's this Pacers Thunder series it's going Game 7. It's destined for that, man. It's not disappointing. So if you want some same game parlays there, you can get that, or you can get some MLB stuff as well. But the MLB season, like I said, is heating up, and every game brings clutch hits, standout pitching, and unforgettable moments. Braves just swept the Mets, and the Mets are my least favorite team in MLB. So from walk-off homers to no-hitters in the making, there are no shortage of drama on the diamond either, and there's no better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, even before tip-off or first pitch. There's all kind of player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play. And you know what I like to do with baseball? I don't know if this is right or wrong, so follow this advice at your own risk, but I'll look at all the live scores. I'll peek in from time to time. I'll find a game that's in like the 7th inning, and I'll take the best odds, and I'll live bet MLB like crazy, right? I'll never put a pregame MLB bet in. I'm always live betting the score on that, and I usually nickel and dime that, so it's pretty good. But anyway, first $5 bet, man. Did you know you can get $200 in bonus bets to add to the excitement? And man, it's a lot of fun, man. If you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up, man. And head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, because like I said, if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and the MLB. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you need a second listen, check out Chris Gordy or Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. Chris Gordy is Locked On SEC. Check out those shows. They will not disappoint. So Diego Pavia said something interesting that I thought was kind of interesting, because I think when you look at Diego Pavia, the story is just kind of like he's a New Mexico kid, went to JUCO in New Mexico, the New Mexico Military Institute, I think, and then goes to New Mexico State. Like, we think of that, and then to Vandy. He follows his coaches to Vandy. So we think of that as a very smooth transition, right? It wasn't so smooth, and he was committed to Nevada at one point, and he's mad at New Mexico. He hates the Lobos, by the way. There's a unique story on that. I'm not going to tell it, but one of the things that was interesting was this. He won the national championship at JUCO, at New Mexico Military Institute. And as he was being recruited, he had St. Francis, which I think is D3 in Ohio. He had Jackson State, and he had New Mexico State. Those were his 3 offers. So he takes visits, right? He visited Jackson State, and Deion's like, look, man, I'm going to shoot you straight. we're looking for a backup. It's not even a 50-50 situation. Like Shedor's going to start no matter what. And doesn't matter if you're better than him. He's going to start. So, and I thought that was kind of interesting in a lot of ways. Like, it proves the daddy ball theory for Prime, which is surprising. He's not taking the Cleveland Browns job, but it proved the daddy ball thing to a degree. Like, man, you're going to play your son no matter what. It's somebody, and you're going to recruit people that you deem inferior to your son. And so, like, in a way, Prime was saying, yeah, you're not as good as Shedor to Diego Pavia, which we know what we know about Diego Pavia. I don't think a whole lot has changed as far as his ability. I mean, he progresses, but relative to his competition, I don't think anything has changed. But you get in there and you're Diego Pavia, you have ego the size of Texas, and you walk in there and you hear that. And obviously he had the reaction that I thought he'd have. He's like, man, screw this. But, he's like, but the thing he said about Prime was not the whole daddy ball thing, and not the whole, like, man, he's just, he's a hater. He's not going to, what stood out to me is, like, I liked him because he was just real. Like, he just straight up told me that's how it was going to be. Like, usually college coaches are like, yeah, we'll compete. And it's not really competition. And it's not really like that. But, I mean, Deion was probably the most honest that any coach has ever been. And in a way, well, not in a way, I like that. I like that Deion was like, we're looking for a backup, man. I'm going to be real with you, man. You're not going to start. You're not ever going to start unless Shedor gets injured to the point he can't play. And he was real and upfront from the start, from the get-go. And Diego Pavia obviously appreciated that, and I appreciate that too. And I think that is what needs to, I think you in the world of NIL, the world of transfer portal, if you're dishonest now, it's going to get around, right? If you're not upfront with, hey, this is the situation, this is what you're walking into, they're going to walk into that situation, and then you're essentially going to get blackballed by the kids or by the players, because nobody's going to want to play for you, and then eventually you'll get shown the door. But, like, Deion was up front, man, and like I said, it's a really good trait to have. And a lot, college coaches are notorious for giving kids the pitch, and it's like, hey, you're going to come in, yeah, you're going to compete, and it's not, and knowing damn well it's not really like that. But I thought that was pretty cool. That in the whole scheme of things, like, Deion could have got that. Deion could have got Pavia if he wanted him. He could have told him whatever he wanted to tell him to get him in the fold. You come in here, you get a chance to compete, and Pavia probably would have signed with Jackson State, because he's, Coach Prime is a hard person to say no to, and the fact that he was just up front was, that was pretty cool. So he ends up at New Mexico State. Eventually, New Mexico State transforms into Vandy State, and their mascot is the Aggiedores. So, but I thought that was pretty interesting how Coach Prime recruits, because it's it could definitely be a situation where he's sitting there telling a kid whatever he wants to hear, and he's not like that. And I didn't think he was like that. I had no preconceived notion that he was like that. But like a lot of college coaches, you're going to say whatever you need to say. It's basically sales anyway. So you're gonna do what you need to do to make the sale or to land the commit. And Deion's like, you know what? I'm not going to, like, straight up. We're not looking for a starting quarterback. We're not looking for somebody that even thinks they have a chance at being a starting quarterback. We're looking for a backup and somebody who understands that you are a backup. So anyway, I thought that was interesting there. Diego Pavia definitely made the right choice, goes to New Mexico State, plays for Coach Kill, and eventually comes into the SEC. And here you go. Creates the firestorm. Everyone in the SEC, all the SEC fans are behind him on his comments about the Big Ten. Like, he unified the conference with that comment, and then obviously started throwing shots in Alabama, South Carolina, and Tennessee, and they're like, whoa, we were behind you when you were talking crap about the Big Ten. Now we hate you again. So it's pretty funny. But, he was giving Taylor Lewan and Will Compton a really hard time about their Big Ten stuff. And, I sometimes it's hard to tell if they were actually offended or not. But, that's where we're at, man. And I thought that was interesting. And I can't imagine Diego Pavia as a backup. I just can't imagine him willingly doing that. And I can't imagine how he would be in that locker room if he had no chance. He probably would have transferred out the very next year anyway. So he probably would have, I don't know where he would have gone. That would have been an interesting situation. I don't know where you go from being a backup at Jackson State, to, and Jackson State was just getting their footing as a, as far as respect goes. So I don't think a lot of people respected Jackson State still at that moment. So I don't know what opportunities would have landed in his lap at that point with no reps. So that would have been a real interesting situation. But I'm glad that Dion had the player's best interest in mind when he was just like, look, dude, that's what we're looking for. If you want it, come on, we'll take you. But if that's not what you're looking for, good to meet you. Best of luck. Hope we never have to cross paths on the field competitively because you're a good player. So I thought that was interesting. But Mark Byington has schedules out, locations are there. What does it look like? We'll talk about it next. All right, wrapping up the show here, man. We're having so much fun here on Locked On Vandy, getting you ready for the weekend at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms if you want to follow along with the show, if you want to get in on the action. But before we get into basketball, Mark Byington, I ran across this thing on X, PFF. However you feel about Pro Football Focus, whatever your opinion is, they come out with these rankings and they come out with these grades. And rankings are just words, are just names on a paper most of the time. But I think the only thing rankings really kind of tell you is if you're an elite company. Like these guys, you could rank these guys a million different ways based on different skills and different things, right? But just the fact that you're in there with these names is a big deal. And Kentucky has two of them. A&M has two of them. Oklahoma has one. And Vandy has actually the highest graded, Bryce Henderson at 91.6 offensive tackles in the SEC since that are returning in 2025. So he received a 91.6 grade coming over from South Dakota State. So this is going to be a very fun year at the tackle position. He comes in playing the strong tackle. He was absolutely, when they cut him loose, he was mauling people at tackle. But we'll get more into that. But that's exciting that he's in such great company with the other names, and we'll really dive into what that means really later on. I just wanted to make mention of it. But shifting over to basketball, Mark Byington. Can we all agree? He is freaking killing it, man. He is cooking. I think he took a roster that he had to throw together from the portal last year into the tournament. Just think of he had a full cycle now and a tournament team to back him up now. So he did a lot better in the portal this time around. He understood his weaknesses. He figured out what the league was like. And I think he really built for what the SEC is like. I think this was a home run hire by Candace Story-Lee in the athletic department. So I'm really excited about that. But the schedule came out. I might actually be reinvigorated on the sport of basketball, right? The SEC's good. Vandy's good. There's a lot of good things about SEC basketball now that make it a little bit more intriguing. But here's the schedule. Here's the opponents, right? I typed them out just in case you could not see this graphic. But the graphic states what the graphic should match up with what I have written there. It's Vanderbilt's SEC opponent schedule. They don't have dates by these games yet. They haven't gone that far, but they've listed out who they're playing at home, who they're playing on the road, and who they have a home and home with. And so home and away is Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. Those are every team has 3 teams you play home and away. All right, so for Vandy, it's Tennessee, Ole Miss, Kentucky. All right, then they have then they play only once. They play a slate of home games and a slate of away games. Right, so they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they play 6 home, 6 away, 3 home and away. And that rounds out the 15-game conference schedule because you can't obviously play each team home and away. So you have home games against this home slate, pretty damn good. Bama, Florida, the reigning national champions, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. You get them home only. Those were your road games last year. Away only, you get Arkansas, Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas, and Mississippi State. Those are your away games. So this league just does not get any easier. I'm just going to throw that out there. But I really like this schedule a lot. Obviously, the Tennessee game, that's got to be a home and home because it's the in-state rivalry and it's they try to preserve that. Ole Miss, that game just got a lot more interesting. They're recruiting really well. Chris Beard's doing a great job down there. If you want to hear from Coach Beard, right here on the Locked On Network, Locked On Ole Miss, Stephen Willis had Chris Beard on his show. And then Kentucky is Kentucky. They're big, dude. Like they have a lot of size. They have a lot of power, and they can beat you down in the paint. And so these those 3 games are extremely difficult, and you have to play them twice. Bama, who a lot of people thought should have been a Final Four team, was not. But they're coming to Memorial, Florida, the reigning national champions. It's a return trip for them, and that game was interesting for a minute, and then they just kind of pulled away because Florida, that's what they do. Georgia, that should be. They were a young team last year. Good Lord, couldn't get that out. They were a young team last year, extremely talented, just couldn't quite figure out how to win and how to win consistently. But they had some firepower on that team. Texas A&M, LSU, those games are really interesting. A&M is a kind of a methodical, fundamentally sound, really good team. LSU, they were one of the ones that didn't make the tournament, but they're pretty good. That was Vandy's first win, actually, and they play pretty well, and they're pretty good. I imagine they might start the conference slate off with LSU again. And Oklahoma was a team that you were winning, and then they ended up beating you by 30. So I think you have something special ready for Oklahoma the next time you play them. So that'll be interesting there. And then on the road, you play Arkansas, who they beat the stew out of you. Auburn, who's always good under Bruce Pearl. I expect nothing different. South Carolina, they're right on the cusp of a tournament berth, but they didn't quite make it in. Missouri, really good at basketball. They're the team that you had them kind of on the ropes a little bit, and then you let that one fall apart. Texas is the one who knocked you out of the SEC tournament, and Mississippi State just remarkably solid. They just lean on you, man. So really good schedule, really good home schedule, I think, because you get the defending champions, you get Georgia, you get Oklahoma, there's a revenge factor there, more so than a lot of games because you had them beat pretty soundly in their gym, and they just took your lunch money in the second half and just torpedoed you. Bama, same thing. They just shoot lights out. Nate Oates does a phenomenal job coaching that group. So again, Mark Byington is making it extremely interesting to watch basketball. I love it, man, and I'm here for it. And I think this is going to be a really good conference slate. I think it's, like I said in the last episode, it's been a phenomenal year for Vanderbilt athletics. I think they've achieved a lot more than they have in years past. I think they're a program athletically. With all the programs, they're on the rise. And the 3 major sports are performing at a pretty high level with expectations to go even higher. And so you're looking at a potential, and I'm so glad they took advantage of this reset. That's been my main point. They took advantage of the reset, and here we are. But that's all I got for you guys. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. We'll see you back here then. Anchor down. Peace.